Imagine, if you will, the meanest, most vindictive person you know whose ego is also so fragile that it might as well be made from the spine of Senator Rafael Cruz. Now, this person's only goal in life is acts of cruelty and domination and getting away with it, with the hopes of getting paid to do it too. Luckily, for them, there's an organization that exists where you can beat the living tar out of someone, and the head of your union will back you up, and make sure you don't suffer any of those pesky consequences, even if your behavior is so barbaric that Conan would tell you to tone it the fuck down. That institution is, of course, the police. Now, some of you may have gotten through that introduction and been a bit turned off by its unfair generalization of an entire institution. And I suppose that's fair. Not every police officer out there joins with the express purpose of using police batons to play the Moby Dick drum solo on the face of those protesting police brutality. Some, honestly, joined in the hopes of helping better their community. And to stop bad guys. Unfortunately, it turns out that when you have a job that gives you a gun, little to no accountability for using it indiscriminately on whomever you want, and barely enough training before you're thrown out into the world, that kind of job attracts the type of people who want to use that position to live out their fantasies of being a stormtrooper on Endor while any citizens they have beef with play the part of the Ewoks. And if those assholes ever end up in power, there's little the honorable ones can do. If they call out their fellow officers for misconduct, the butt brigade will push them aside until they either quit to avoid the stench of projectile bullying, or they learn to pucker up and give brown-stained kisses. Now, in a twist that may only be rivaled by Donald Duck's cock, I, and many others like me, do think that there's one place for policing in society and one thing we would like the police to actually do. Stop bad guys. In particular, those who cause unwanted destruction. If the bastard child of the Mountain and Hannibal Lecter was your neighbor, and he made an offhanded comment about eating your children, having someone whose job it is to have that person subdued and taken away for rehabilitation would be welcome. The problem is that way too much of policing right now treats anyone as or more threatening than a butterfly with a verbal tick to the same face mashing that Mr. Mountain Lecter would receive. Not to mention too many times the big murderous man mountain gets treated with kid gloves while the butterfly has to get its mushy corpse cleaned off the pavement. And that's not even touching on those who do the most destruction. The dragons who burn entire villages to the ground just to turn a profit go wholly untouched by legal action at all. Also general racism and oppression of the marginalized, obviously. So how can we fix this broken system? Well, there's a few approaches I'd like to suggest, and like well-rounded foreplay, I think they should all be used simultaneously. Number 1, demilitarize the police. When a dog is shown aggressive tendencies towards the neighborhood kids, encasing their teeth in steel and giving them a shoulder-mounted laser cannon is not going to de-escalate the situation. In fact, it will probably just start an arms race with the neighborhood kids, where mutually assured destruction ends with dead children, and worse, a dead dog, which is the worst of all possible scenarios. So we should really take the aggressive dog and make him unaggressive before thinking about giving him deadlier toys. Number 2, reallocation of funds. If you're in a zombie apocalypse and all of your time and money is being put towards the accumulation of guns and ammo, and none is being put into finding a cure, then you're gonna run out of guns and ammo eventually, and then you're zombie chow. If the only crime reduction techniques are just reacting to the problems, and not enough techniques are focused on preventing the problems, then you just end up with more and more crime, and eventually your resources are stretched too thin to react to it at all. The money used on the police should be used less on weaponry and union dues, and more on actual policing and crime prevention. This means that funds should be reallocated to things like financial assistance, community outreach programs, and mental health/drug assistance services in order to stop crime from occurring in the first place. This also involves rewriting a lot of stupid laws that target and criminalize the poor, which disproportionately includes people of color, and instead treat those issues as social ones instead of criminal ones. Number 3, more accountability. If a teenage boy is masturbating too much, you won't stop him just by adding an age verification screen. What you do is you superglue sandpaper to his palms until he learns self-control or ends up giving himself a late-term circumcision. If you let cops perform acts of brutality without scrutiny, they'll just keep doing it. One method of ensuring accountability is installing the precedent that every time a cop slaps handcuffs on someone, they are potentially handcuffing the arms of a future cellmate, if they ever commit a crime themselves. If you can get arrested just as likely as the person you are arresting, you might think twice about abusing your position of power. It's the same conceptual equivalent as that anti-masturbation sandpaper, but hopefully with less potential groin injuries. Number 4, emphasize community policing. If the whole point of policing is protecting and policing the neighborhood, having someone from outside of the neighborhood who doesn't know shit about it being shoved into the middle of things isn't going to help. Police should have a relationship with the people in their community. They shouldn't be occupying forces. Having community members police the area works better the same reason that women are better at fingering. They're familiar with the territory. Number 5, don't hire racists. Don't hire racists, or sexists or classists or the generally bigoted or abusive. Number 6, start from scratch in places where the system is too broken to fix. Say you have a football stadium-sized white alpaca rug, and Giganta has her time of the month all over it. Now you have a football stadium-sized rug with matted chunks of cherry slushy mixed in between the fabric. If someone decided they wanted to scrub it entirely clean with just a toothbrush, it could be seen as a testament to hard work in the face of adversity, and it would definitely be an unenviable job, but I think we can all agree that there are better alternatives to the method being used, up to and including throwing the whole fucking rug out. There are many police departments that should be torn down entirely and built back up from the start because of how blood-stained they've become. Just throw out the blood-stained rug and buy a new one. The old one is starting to smell, the toothbrush isn't doing shit, and I'm pretty sure I saw the cleaner visiting blood banks on the weekends and putting packs of it in his car just so he can clock overtime. I hope people are forgiving of the overall flow of this piece. Ha!